Good morning, welcome to a freezing cold River Stour. I've just crunched my way across the grass. One fortunate bit is the gateway in is usually a swamp. Today, frozen solid, not a problem at all. Now I've come down the Stour again because I did have the option of going to the Avon today. It's in what looks like fishable condition, but I think it'll be better in the coming days, so I'm leaving that one. I think I can get out again tomorrow, so I'm going to leave the Avon till tomorrow, and as I say, I'll come down the Stour, which is relatively low now. It's got a bit of colour, but not too much. It's fairly clear by Stour standards, sort of pale green colour, relatively low. I usually fish it between about 1.3 and 1.5 on the local river level gauge. It's at 1.1 at the moment, so it's, you know, this much lower than when it fishes well. So that being that, I've bought the trotting gear. I thought moving bait would probably be better than just putting a static bait out or even trundling link ledger. I think I'd rather run the stick float around, and it means we can fish a few different swims in different ways as well. However, the first swim I've come to is one I often fish, but it's not been particularly productive lately. But we'll have a go just for 10 minutes this morning, just in that slack on that far side over there, just see if we can tempt anything out, and then we'll have a move down. We'll have a bit of a roving session today. Bait I've got mash bread, of course, mash bread with bread on the hook, and I've bought some maggots as well. We're not really intending on using them. They're more for if I run out of mash bread. Now, gear wise, I've got my Dower Tournament Pro 15-foot rod and Dower 125M there. This is the one supplied by Stuart at Artisan Angling. It's absolutely lovely, I have to say. Stuart basically reconditions, rebuilds 125s, and he's rebuilt this one, sent it to me, and it's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, big shout out to Stuart, thank you very much. It's about 8:45 now, so we're not limiting our time today, but I can't be here too long. We've perhaps got 3 or 4 hours, so we'll have a crack in here first, as I say, and then we'll have a roam at the stretch, see what we can find. So it's going to be very simple tactics today. Some mash bread that's been mashed up very, very wet, so it breaks up as it falls through the water column, and bread on the hook. Now I get asked quite often about mashing up bread and how I mash it up, so I'll link you into a video up there if you want to go and have a look at that. I'll also stick another video up there if you want to have a look how I set up my trotting gear. Again, something I get asked fairly frequently about. I'll feed a bit of mash into that slack there, just run a bit of bread around. As I say, this historically this swim was quite good, but recently it's not been great at all. I think I fished it probably, I don't know, I'm guessing 4 or 5 times this season. I think I've caught in it once, so as I say, not ideal at all really. And that's bearing in mind a couple of times last season I had, well, on two occasions I had 4 chub out of here in the same session, but they just don't seem to want to be here like they were last year. But that's rivers, isn't it? They just change so much year on year. Worth 10 minutes though, I think, as we're passing. So a lot of the swims on this stretch I would normally fish are not really going to be suitable for fishing with the float. I do tend to fish lots of little nooks and crannies and little sort of underneath rafts and stuff, which obviously we're not going to be able to do with the float. Just have to feel my way with the depth a little bit. I'm not going to give anywhere too long. If we're not catching, we'll move on. Right, I think that's long enough there. We'd have had a bite by now if we were going to get one, I'm sure. We've got a good foot, 18 inches of visibility, so fish are going to be able to see it. If there were any fish there and they were interested, they'll have seen that bit of bread go past their noses by now. So can only assume from that they're not. So we'll move on, find some more fish. Now this next swim used to be absolutely fantastic. Almost a banker swim. Well, as you can see, those trees have been hacked down, unfortunately, which meant I fished it a couple of times this year and not had a bite. So I think the fish may have moved. Although, as you can see, there's still a raft down there which is collected in these latest floods. So I thought I'd come and give it a little go here. As I say, it used to be a really good swim. But since they've hacked all that cover off, I presume it's willows, I think it was, just dangling into the water. Since that's been done, I fished it a couple of times with nothing. But I think it's worth a go today because we can trot down to that raft that you can see down there. So we'll see if we can pull any chub out from under that raft. No, I've never trotted in here before. To have a bit of a guess of the depth. We want to run through fairly close to the bottom. It'd be nice to winkle a chub out of here. Hopefully we can pull them out from that raft. We can hold back when we get down to that raft as well and just let the bread flutter underneath. Well, that's going down nicely. Right, that's gone down completely unhindered. I'll stick a little bit on the depth. Get this mash going in. Now this river's running off a big old flood. It's been in the fields. And what I discovered a week or so ago was contrary to what you'd think. I just thought, oh, you know, the fish will be really hungry, they'll be right up for a feed. They've had a big flood, and not the case. Fish I've been catching have been looking very healthy, and a few of them have been stuffed full of worms. Clearly where the river's been in the fields, all the worms are coming out of the holes, getting washed into the river. And the chub have been having a field day. Maybe the case in here though, if there are some chub under that raft, they may not want to come out. The only way to approach them in that case would be to stick a link ledger underneath. We've been doing lots of ledgering lately, so I did fancy getting a float out today. Make the most of it, you never know. Could chuck it down the rain in 2 days' time, and everywhere's so wet. The rivers will be up again, and winter trotting will be out of the question. All right, we're in. God, right at the side of that raft where we thought, actually to the side of it rather than in front of it. But we're in. Fantastic. Oh, that's wonderful. And he's actually going out into the river as well, so we haven't got to go down and get him. Yeah, just let it run a little bit further than I've been letting it run. Just sort of past the side of that raft. The float went under, and I just thought, oh, we've snagged up. Not so. Well, that's a lovely surprise. Feels a reasonable fish as well. It is a reasonable fish. Cracking. There he is. Come on, up you come. Well, that's cracking. One in the bag. Fantastic. Well, to say I'm pleased with that is an understatement. He's doing that the chub wiggle. How's about that? First off, second swim down. Fantastic. And now I know they're still here under that raft, as suspected. Fantastic. It's a nice fish as well, that is. Wonderful. Right, we shall get him in the edge here. If we put him back, he will definitely be off scaring all his mates. We'll keep him in there just for 5 or 10 minutes. Got to be worth a few more minutes, hasn't it? Oh, I'm over the moon with that. Fantastic. Oh, don't come out. The sun's trying to come out. That wasn't on the cards. That will mess things up if that comes out, I'm sure. Oh dear. We've got a much more overcast day forecast tomorrow. As I say, I think I'm going to get down the Avon tomorrow. I'm not sure where we'll go, but definitely want to get down there. Maybe even do a bit of trotting, just depending on the colour. It's a similar colour to this, but it's much murkier. We've got, yeah, I'm looking down here, we've got 18 inches of visibility down here, at least, which is very, very clear for this river. This river never runs clear. Even in the summer it runs this colour. Well, that's made it worth coming out in this freezing cold weather. As I said, I'm quite warm, to be honest. I've got so many clothes on. I'm a bit too warm, really, but this hand is absolutely freezing, and I do detest wearing gloves. I have got some to wear between swims. I can't fish in gloves. I might have to in a minute. But I really, really dislike it. When you're doing stuff like this, certainly. A bit different when you're perhaps doing a bit of ledgering or something. No, nothing doing. Right, we'll get this fella back and then we'll, as I say, we'll get moved. Right, back you go, chap. No worse for his ordeal. Gone. Cracking. Right, let's see what else we can find. So next up, the very last swim on the stretch, which suddenly popped into my head. I've not been up here for quite a while. This suddenly popped into my head because I do remember, it might have been last year, maybe the year before, catching a nice chub and a nice roach out of here. It's got to be worth a go, I would say. Alright. Ooh, now that looked like a bite. That didn't look like the bottom, that looked like a bite. That's promising, that third or fourth run through. I don't know if you saw that on there. Just under that branch that's dangling in the water. Just sort of under the middle of it. Down it went. Sort of dip, dip, and then it went under. That could be roach. It might be that we perhaps need to put a smaller bit of bread flake on. I've got a relatively small hook on. I've got a 12 on, which is obviously not particularly small, but it's relatively small when we're catching chub, and they got mouths you could get a golf ball in. Sort of hedge my bets a little bit. That's just pulled a little bit under again and again. Perhaps it is the bottom. Or perhaps there's some fish sat under there. That looked like a bite as well. Yeah, there we go. This feels like a chublet or a roach. I thought I was getting some bites under there. What we got? It's a roach. It feels a reasonable one. It's probably a chublet. It is a chublet. Oh, I'll swing him in. Well, there we go. It's a start. Hopefully his big brother's down there. Right, once again, we'll net him. So we don't wreck the swim. From the way the float was bouncing down there. There's a few of them down there. Sat pretty much where you'd expect them to be sat. Under the cover, where it's a little bit darker. I think that was a bite. Yep. Well, they certainly sat where we thought, under that tree. What we got this time? The chublet, I'd imagine. It is a lifter, just about. Well, it's a bit bigger than the last one. How's about that? Cracking. We're getting a few bites, no monsters. But they're getting bigger. Exactly the same place as that last bite. But it took another sort of 5 minutes or so to get a bite, which is a bit strange. I think if there were lots of chublets under there, you'd be getting a bite every run through. We'll stick it out. There's clearly some fish under there, but not really. They're not really the stamp of fish we've come to catch today. As I say, if I was fishing my lighter setup and maggots on the hook, catching some dace, roach, chublets, gudgeon, you know, I'll be cracking. I've not really set up for that today, for catching fish of this size. No, that's gone through unmolested. Right, let's go and see if we can find some bigger fish. I'll get these fellas back. Although the net's half under the water, the rim, so then they might have let themselves go already. I've not fished this swim for a while. Before the floods there was a bit of a raft across there by that tree that you can see down there, but that clearly has gone. The floods have taken that away. It's one of the reasons I love fishing rivers. You just never know. You don't know what they're going to look like. You have a bit of water through, or such as here, we've had floods, and just everything that was there has gone and other things have turned up. Right, we'll get a little bit of bait in. Hopefully it'll still be good for a bite. Having fished this stretch for a few years now, it's about the second or third time that raft has formed and disappeared. We had a lovely raft a bit further upstream from here last winter, but again, floods just took it out. Gone. We'll see what we can do in here anyway. We'll see if we can get anything going. Just a short little rundown. I think I'll fish the rundown behind that tree as well, or downstream of that tree, I should say. But I was thinking we'll do this up a bit first, and then the bait will get washed through and any particles will be going and baiting up downstream for us. Nice little run through here, proper little trot through down to that snag. Still a bit of a snag there, and obviously some tree roots, etc. Nice run through there. Nice steady paced little run through. It's not boiling, there's no turbulence or anything in the water, which I think is why it's proved in the past to be a relatively good spot. Just dropping a ledger in next to that tree to what used to be a raft. You can see in the tree how high the water's been. All the flotsam in the tree. Just shallowing up until I can get it to run through nicely. So we're about 5 foot to that olivet, and it's the olivet that's going to be dragging on the bottom. A lot of times when you're trotting, the bait will be dragging on the bottom, like fishing maggots or, you know, something like that. That's not buoyant, but with bread being so relatively buoyant, especially when it's full of air, when it first goes in, it'll just be fluttering around. And it'll be the olivet that drags the bottom. All right, there we go. That looked like a bite. I was just about to say that looks like a bite. Blimey. This is no chublet. Fantastic. Well, that didn't take long at all. Oh, he's trying to get us in that tree. I think he might have managed it. Oh, he's dancing his reeds in the inside. I can feel him. That's got him, mate. Oh. It's kited right in. Just managed to get us in the snags, just at the base of that tree, in the roots. God, this feels like a proper fish. Cracking. That's wonderful. I'm not extending my landing net, which is not great. I'll go down in the swamp and land him. Come on, chap. Oh, that's another lovely fish. Wonderful. Well, we'll have a look at him over the net. What a cracking fish that is. I just put him on the scales. £3.5. Absolutely wonderful. That's a cracking fish. I'm over the moon with that. Absolutely over the moon. Wonderful. And to take it on float gear as well. Can't beat it. Cracking. Right. All right, it's got to be worth another few minutes in here. That was pretty quick. We'll get him down the edge here in the net. Some nice water to keep him in down there. Make sure he's okay. Yeah, it's fine. He's righted himself. I can safely say we're not going to catch a bigger fish than that today. Definitely not. That's a cracker. That's certainly the biggest one I've had from this stretch for, well, certainly this season, if not longer than that. In fact, I was talking a few videos ago. I was fishing down there, I had a nice one out and said that was the biggest one I'd had, but that one's certainly bigger than that. Certainly didn't expect that on the float today. But I'm certainly not complaining. That's a cracking, absolutely wonderful. I wonder if his mates are around. It's after 5 or 10 minutes rest. We'll give it a bit longer in here. Worth another few minutes. But as with a lot of these swims in this stretch, they're so intimate, it's just one and out. You have a fish, you basically wreck the swim and that's that. But you never know. It's worth a few minutes just to find out. And I think we'll have a go a little bit further down. That next little run down. There's no particular cover down there, but it's worth a go. There's just a nice long run. We can run the float down. The chub are not always tucked away under the cover. See what I mean though about you get a bite relatively quickly if you're on the fish and they're up for it. It doesn't take long, 5-10 minutes when you're doing this. And if there's one out feeding, one or more out feeding obviously, then you know pretty quickly. Be hoovering all the particles of bread up I've been throwing in, and then obviously my big lump of flake comes down and it thinks it's Christmas. Right, I think I'm going to call it there. As suspected, I think we've wrecked this swim. But we'll drop just down below and try in there, I think. Right, we'll get this fella back. Cracking fish, that. Absolutely over the moon. Back you go, fella. Gone. Right, well I was going to call that the last swim, but there is one more we can have a go in. I've just been thinking my way up the stretch in my head, and there is one more run we can have a trot in from memory, just 100 metres or so upstream. So I think we'll go off and finish in there. There's certainly nothing else going on in here. We've got the best part of probably half an hour in here. No, nothing doing. This last swim, so I think I'm going to call it a day there. We'll give that a good 20 minutes, so I think we'd have had a bite by now if we were going to get one. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's been absolutely cracking. It's not been easy, but we've managed to winkle a few fish out, and it's been lovely to run the float around, and we've caught, what, 4 chub, or 2 chublets and 2 chub, and certainly the biggest one I've ever had from this stretch on the float, so I'm very, very happy with that. As I say, it's not been easy, but I shall go home, get my fingers warm, get my nose warm, clear all the mud off me, and we'll get out again tomorrow. I think that's the plan at the moment anyway. We're planning on getting down the Avon. We'll have a look how it is. I'm not sure exactly what condition it's in and exactly what we'll do, but we'll suck it and see. We're going to have a look later down there and plan what we're going to do tomorrow. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Tight lines, enjoy your own angling. Many thanks to the channel patrons for your wonderful support. And I'll see you again very soon.